Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at, well, a corner of the global health and wellness industry today that you might not think about often. But the numbers, they suggest it's surprisingly massive and growing fast. We're talking about the global kidney detox market.
That's right. And for this deep dive, our source is a pretty detailed market research report. It really gives us a look under the hood, lays out how big this market actually is, tracks its recent growth, and projects where it's headed over the next decade or so.
Right. So our mission here is to sort of unpack that data, pull out the key insights, and understand the story these numbers are telling. What is this market? How big? And maybe the most interesting part, where is the growth happening fastest around the globe?
Exactly. And first off, maybe we should clarify what is the kidney detox market, according to this report. It's mainly products and services marketed specifically for, well, cleansing or detoxifying the kidneys.
Okay, like what kind of things?
Things like certain supplements, herbal remedies, special teas, even structured detox programs. It's a niche, definitely, within the broader sort of detox or cleanse industry.
Got it. That helps frame it. So let's talk scale. How
Okay.
big was this market globally, say, just a few years back?
Well, the report pegs the global market back in 2021 at $1,728.34 million.
Wow. Okay, hold on. $1.7 billion. Almost.
Yeah, well over $1.7 billion.
For kidney detox specifically, that scale alone is pretty eye-opening, I have to say.
It is, and it's clearly trending upwards. The report projects it'll hit $2,133 million by 2025.
So crossing that $2 billion mark very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And looking further out. What's the long-term projection?
The projection out to 2033 is for the market to reach $3,248.75 million, so over $3.2 billion.
Over 3.2 billion, okay. And the report mentions a growth rate.
Yeah, it calculates the compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, from 2025 to 2033 at 5.4%.
5.4% CAGR. Now, for listeners maybe less familiar with that term, what does 5.4% growth mean in simple terms?
Well, think of it like the average yearly growth rate, assuming it grows steadily over that period. So basically, this specific global market is expected to get, on average, over 5% bigger each year between 2025 and 2033. It signals pretty consistent, healthy growth for this niche.
Okay, that's the big picture globally. Consistent growth. But these reports usually get much more granular, right? Down to regions, countries.
Oh, absolutely. And that's often where you see the really interesting trends and, well, differences.
So where should we start?
Let's start with North America. It was the largest market in 2021, just in terms of sheer dollar value.
Right, the heavyweight.
Precisely. North America's market was valued at $625.66 million back in 2021. It's projected to actually cross the billion-dollar mark, reaching $1,068.84 million by 2033.
A billion just in North America by 2033. What's the growth rate there?
The regional CAGR is pegged at 4.551% for that 2025 to 2033 period.
Okay. So still huge in size, but growing maybe a touch slower than the global average you mentioned.
Slightly slower, yeah. And within North America, no surprise, the U.S. dominates in market size, takes up the vast majority. But what's interesting is the report shows Canada and Mexico are projected to have slightly higher percentage growth rates than the U.S. over that period.
Huh. Interesting nuance. The smaller players growing a bit faster proportionally. Okay. Let's hop across the pond to Europe. Second largest market.
That's right. Europe was valued at $490.85 million in 2021, projected to hit $880.41 million by 2033. Its regional CAGR is 4.97%.
Okay, so closer to the global average, a
Yeah.
bit higher than North America's rate.
Mm-hmm.
Does the report single out any specific countries driving that growth in Europe?
It does. Germany actually has the largest market size within Europe currently, but the UK shows the strongest projected growth percentage. Its CAGR is expected to be 6.263%.
Over 6% for the UK. Strong.
Yeah. And several other major European economies, Germany, France, Italy, also show solid growth rates, generally above 5%. Russia, some Nordic countries like Denmark and Sweden, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they show slightly slower growth percentages compared to that European average in the report's projections.
Okay, so consistent growth across much of Europe, maybe even accelerating a bit in places like the UK. Now, Asia Pacific. This region often pops up as a growth story in many markets.
And it definitely does here. Asia Pacific is projected to have the highest regional growth rate globally. We're talking a CAGR of 6.882%.
Wow, almost 7% annual growth.
Yeah. The market there is expected to jump from about $358 million in 2021 to nearly $800 million, $799.19 million by 2033.
Huge leap. almost a quarter of the entire global market by 2033, and leading in growth rate. Which countries are the standouts there?
Well, China is the largest market within the region, and it's showing strong growth itself, with a CAGR over 6.9%. Japan is also a significant contributor, but the absolute standout in this report, across all the countries listed globally, is India.
India? Really? Tell me about India's numbers.
India's Kidney Detox Market is projected to grow at an exceptional CAGR of 8.932%.
Nearly 9%.
Nearly 9% average annual growth. The report shows it going from around $44 million in 2021 to over $124 million by 2033.
Just, wow. Almost tripling in size in India alone over that time frame. That's a remarkable figure. Are there other high flyers in APAC mentioned?
Yes, Australia also shows really strong growth, over 8% CAGR projected. South Korea, Singapore, Southeast Asia as a bloc, and Taiwan are also projected to grow at solid rates, around 5.5% to 6%-ish. It is worth noting, though, the category listed as rest of APAC in the report shows much, much slower growth.
Ah, okay. So the growth isn't uniform across the entire region.
No, it suggests the really rapid expansion in APAC is heavily concentrated in these specific key countries we mentioned.
That's a crucial distinction. So APAC leading the charge globally, with India and Australia really pushing that average up. What about South America?
South America also looks pretty healthy. It shows a regional CAGR of 5.8% projected from 2025 to 2033, so slightly above the global average. The market there is expected to nearly double, going from about $111 million in 2021 to around $218 million by 2033.
And the key drivers there. Any standouts?
Brazil is the biggest market by value, but the report actually flags Argentina with a particularly strong growth rate, over 6.4% CAGR. Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Chile also show solid growth rates, generally above 5%.
Okay. Consistent story there. Moving on, Middle East.
The Middle East market is projected to grow with a CAGR of 5.117%, so increasing from about $83 million in 2021 to nearly $150 million by 2033. Saudi Arabia is the largest market there, but the UAE shows notably faster growth within the region. Its CAGR is pegged at 6.445%.
Interesting. UAE popping up with strong growth again.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
CAGR is pegged at 6.445%.
Interesting. UAE popping up with strong growth again. And finally, Africa. Often a region, with smaller starting market sizes, but sometimes really high growth potential.
That's exactly the picture here. Africa starts from the smallest base, around $60 million in 2021, but it's projected to more than double, reaching $133.20 million by 2033, and its regional CAGR is 6.761%.
Wait, 6.76%. That's the second highest regional CGR after Asia Pacific, right?
It is. It shows really rapid percentage growth, even from that smaller base. The report specifically highlights Nigeria. It's showing the highest growth rate within Africa, projected at 7.445% CAGR.
Nigeria over 7.4%.
Wow. Yeah. South Africa has the largest actual market size in the region currently, and it also shows solid growth over 6%. And interestingly, the rest of Africa category also shows strong performance, growing at nearly 7% CAGR.
So even starting smaller, Africa is clearly a region where this specific market segment is picking up some serious speed.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is seeing where that growth is accelerating fastest. Even if the current dollar value is smaller, these regional and country breakdowns really add a lot of color beyond just the global number.
Okay, let's try and connect all these dots then. We've looked at a multi-billion-dollar global market specifically for kidney detox products and services. We've seen it's projected to grow consistently, hitting over $3.2 billion by 2033 globally.
Right. And we've seen that while North America and Europe are currently the largest markets by, absolute value, Asia Pacific and Africa are really leading the way in terms of the rate of growth, the percentage increase year on year, with Asia Pacific showing the fastest expansion overall.
And within those faster growing regions, some specific countries like India, Australia, but also Argentina, the UAE, Nigeria, they show particularly striking individual growth rates, often significantly higher than their regional averages or the global average. It really emphasizes that this isn't just growth concentrated in one place. It's happening in diverse economies worldwide.
Yeah, this report really highlights the sheer scale of investment, both from companies making these things and, crucially, from consumers buying them, all focused on this very specific niche related to perceived kidney health or detoxification.
So, bringing this back to you, the listener, when you look at these numbers, we're talking billions of dollars, growing over 5% globally each year, with hotspots nearing 9% growth. What is this significant global investment in kidney detox products and services really signifying to you?
Is it purely about rising health consciousness? Maybe a growing interest in preventative health? Or perhaps it reflects something else entirely about how consumers perceive their health and, well, seek out solutions in today's world.
If you connect it to the bigger picture, it certainly suggests a widespread global consumer engagement with the idea of internal cleansing or detox, directed specifically at organs like the kidneys. And, crucially, a willingness to put significant money behind that engagement on a massive scale.
Exactly. It raises questions, doesn't it? About consumer trust, maybe the influence of marketing in the wellness space, and just generally what drives billions of dollars into these very specific niche health-related markets.
What does this level of spending on kidney detox tell you about public health awareness, or maybe something different altogether? It's definitely a set of numbers that makes you think. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a really interesting corner of the wellness market. It's seen huge growth, but it's also, well, swimming in controversy. We're talking about kidney detox products.
That's right. And we're using insights from a specific report shared with us by Cognitive Market Research. It's their deep dive called the Kidney Detox Market: Trends and Dynamics.
Yeah, so our mission here is to use that source material to really unpack what's driving people towards these products, and also the big hurdles the market faces,
Exactly. And how companies are trying to adapt, the trends shaping things, and even how external stuff like recent trade tariffs are shaking things up.
Think of this as your shortcut, really, to understanding the key dynamics of this specific market segment, all coming straight from the source material. Okay, let's get into it.
Absolutely. So first up, what's actually fueling the growth? The source points to a few powerful forces. Number one is this major cultural shift towards preventative health.
Right. So people aren't just waiting until they're sick anymore. They're actively looking for ways to, support their bodies and stay well.
Precisely. And the report links this directly to growing anxieties about, environmental toxins, the pressures of modern life. People want tangible ways, often quick ones, to feel like they're doing something good.
And kidney detox supplements are marketed that way, as organ support.
Yes, as supporting organ health against those perceived threats, it really taps into that desire for agency over your own health.
And, well, you can't talk about modern trends without the elephant in the room: social media. The source says social media marketing is a massive driver here.
Oh, huge. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, they aren't just reflecting trends. The report says they're actively creating and amplifying demand.
How so?
Well, the source highlights influencer marketing. The testimonials, the what I eat in a day videos where these things pop up, or even those kidney detox challenge trends that just go viral.
Yeah, I've seen some of that.
It's a powerful way to bypass traditional advertising, build that direct, seemingly authentic connection, especially with younger, health-focused consumers.
That personal connection feels really effective, even if the science isn't quite there. What's the third key driver the report mentions?
It's the increasing awareness of kidney disease itself.
That's interesting. So concern about actual health conditions is driving interest in products claiming to detox. How did that work?
Exactly. The source connects this to the rising rates of things like diabetes and high blood pressure. Big risk factors for kidney problems, right?
Right.
So this heightened concern about actual kidney health can make people look for products using words like cleanse, support, or protect. Even if the evidence for the supplements is, well, lacking, it's about seeking reassurance, maybe taking proactive steps, even if they might be misdirected.
Okay, so there's definite demand, fueled by wellness trends, social media hype, health worries. But this booming market isn't without its significant hurdles, is it? What does the source say are the main restraints?
The biggest one, and the report really flags this as critical, is the fundamental lack of scientific evidence. There's just not much proof these products are needed or even work as claimed.
That feels like a major disconnect. Because, as I understand it, and you hear this from doctors, our kidneys are pretty amazing at cleaning themselves, right?
They really are. Your kidneys are these incredibly sophisticated, highly efficient filters. Their whole job is constantly filtering your blood, removing waste, excess fluid naturally. They don't really accumulate toxins in a way that needs some external detox supplement.
So people are maybe starting to catch on.
The source notes that consumer health literacy is increasing. More people are starting to question the basis for these claims. That puts pressure on the brands,
And I bet that scientific scrutiny gets amplified by regulatory bodies, too.
Absolutely. The source points to increasing scrutiny from agencies like the FDA, the FTC. They're cracking down on unverified medical claims from supplement companies. That pressure alone is a big restraint.
Okay, lack of evidence, regulatory heat. Are there actual risks mentioned in the report? Could these things be harmful?
Yes, the source does detail potential adverse health effects. They're often marketed as natural, but some herbal ingredients can be quite potent.
Like what kind of issues?
There's a risk they could cause electrolyte imbalances, or in some cases, potentially even harm the kidneys themselves, which is incredibly ironic, isn't it?
Wow, yeah.
Plus, there's the danger of interactions with prescription drugs people might be taking. The report stresses that even just one widely reported safety incident could seriously damage consumer trust across the whole market, and probably invite much stricter regulation.
Okay, so regulatory risk, safety risk, lack of proof. What's the final restraint this source highlights?
Intense market competition.
Right. It feels like that whole detox section in health stores is just absolutely packed these days.
It really is. The source describes the detox space as incredibly saturated. Kidney detox products aren't operating in a vacuum. They're up against liver cleanses, full-body kits, colon flushes, just a whole host of wellness supplements.
So it's hard to stand out.
Yeah, the challenge for kidney-specific brands is carving out a unique identity, justifying their cost when consumers have so many other options claiming similar broad cleansing or support benefits.
Okay, so we've got these powerful drivers pushing the market up, but also some really significant restraints pulling it back down. How is the industry trying to adapt? What are the major market trends the source identifies?
Well, one of the key trends is a noticeable shift in language. The words brands are using.
How so?
Given the regulatory pressure and, frankly, the growing skepticism around the word detox, companies are strategically moving away from it.
So they're softening the language deliberately.
Exactly. The source points to a move towards softer, less medically definitive terms. You'll see things like kidney support, urinary wellness, or renal formula. This rebranding seems like a clear attempt to lower regulatory risk, maybe increase perceived credibility.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Lower regulatory risk, maybe increase perceived credibility, while still appealing to that wellness consumer looking for proactive health stuff.
Selling the benefit without making the legally tricky claim. Makes sense.
Precisely. Another major trend is the huge demand for clean label products.
Right. Transparency. That seems key for consumers today, especially in health.
It really is. The source highlights a strong preference for knowing exactly what's in the product. People want organic, non-GMO, plant-based ingredients. They list examples like cranberry, dandelion root, turmeric, ginger.
Ingredients people recognize and probably feel are natural and safe.
That's definitely part of the appeal, the source notes. And finally, there's this rise of combination or functional products.
What does that mean in this context? Combination products.
The report describes brands bundling kidney support ingredients with components aimed at other wellness needs. Maybe they'll throw in something for liver health or digestive benefits or even bloating relief, all alongside the kidney claims.
So it's not just a kidney pill anymore. It's part of a bigger system.
Yeah, the source suggests this creates full-body detox systems, or these multifunctional supplements. It's a pretty smart strategy, potentially increases the cart value, builds brand loyalty by tackling multiple concerns at once.
Okay, that covers the internal market dynamics and trends. But the source also brings up a pretty significant external factor hitting this industry, tied to recent politics.
Yeah.
The Trump administration's Liberation Day tariffs reportedly reintroduced back in April 2025.
Yeah, this is where it gets really complex and honestly a bit counterintuitive for this particular market. According to the Cognitive Market Research Report, these tariffs ranging from 10% up to a hefty 46% are specifically targeting pharmaceutical imports.
Okay, but how does that hit the kidney detox market? That's supplements, not pharma. Right?
Well, the source clarifies these tariffs hit things like active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs. Those are the core components, not just in drugs, but often in complex dietary supplements too. And they also hit packaging materials, and crucially, many herbal and botanical supplement ingredients sourced from places like China and India.
Wow, so tariffs aimed at pharmaceuticals end up whacking the supply chain for herbal kidney support products.
Exactly. The consequences the source details for this segment are pretty significant. Rising manufacturing costs, potential for major supply chain delays, and just more administrative and regulatory headaches navigating the whole import process.
That sounds like a huge pressure point. especially for smaller brands, maybe.
It is. The report says generic supplement makers who rely heavily on those imported ingredients are under immense pressure. Contract manufacturers producing for multiple brands. They're scrambling to find alternative sources to try and mitigate these costs and delays.
And this isn't happening in isolation, I imagine.
No, the source points out there's global backlash, too. Potential retaliatory tariffs on U.S. exports. It just further complicates the trade landscape for everyone involved.
So navigating all this volatility must be incredibly difficult for these companies.
Which brings up an important point the source emphasizes: the critical need for real-time market intelligence in this kind of dynamic environment. The report suggests research like theirs is essential for companies trying to track fluctuating ingredient prices, assess new suppliers, are they reliable, are they compliant, and just handle the complex regulatory stuff brought on by these tariffs.
Right. Data becomes your compass when things are this unpredictable.
You need that data to make agile decisions.
Makes perfect sense. So who are the main players trying to navigate all this? What does the competitive landscape look like, according to the source?
The report describes a real mix. You've got the really large, established supplement giants, the ones with their fingers in lots of different wellness pies. But alongside them, there's a whole host of smaller, maybe more agile, niche wellness brands.
The ones focused just on detox, maybe? Or quick to jump on trends?
Yeah, maybe focusing specifically on detox, or quicker to leverage trends like clean labels and social media marketing.
And what strategies are they using to compete? What does the research say?
According to cognitive market research, the strategies include constant new product launches, sometimes mergers and acquisitions to grab market share or get access to new tech or ingredients. Heavy reliance on those influencer partnerships we talked about to build brand awareness, and a strong focus on digital-first distribution, selling online, basically, meeting consumers where they are.
And how are they measuring success in this tricky environment?
The source mentions the traditional business metrics you'd expect, tracking gross margins, revenue, overall market share, and using strategic tools like SWOT analysis.
Right, SWOT. That's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Standard business stuff.
Precisely. It's a framework to evaluate their position, but the source really emphasizes that increasingly success in this specific market is less about just those traditional metrics.
And more about
More about how quickly companies can adapt to the changing regulations and consumer demands, how effectively they innovate their formulas, to stand out or meet those clean label requirements. And perhaps most importantly, how well they can build and maintain genuine trust with consumers who are getting savvier and asking more questions.
Trust seems absolutely paramount when you're selling products facing this kind of scientific scrutiny. Okay, so there you have it. We've taken a deep dive into the kidney detox market, using the insights from that cognitive market research report.
Yeah, it's a market seeing real growth, often rapid growth, fueled by the broader wellness culture, the undeniable power of social media, and a genuine consumer interest in feeling proactive about health.
But that growth is running right up against some pretty significant headwinds, isn't it? The lack of strong scientific backing, potential safety risks, intense competition, and even these complex global trade issues like tariffs messing with costs and supply.
And the source's conclusion on how to navigate this complex space seems pretty clear. Brands really need to prioritize transparency with consumers. They need to ensure any claims they make are, where possible, rigorously science-backed, and fundamentally stay customer-focused to build that essential trust.
Definitely. And hey, if this deep dive has sparked your interest and you're looking for even more detail, like way more detail, the source mentions you can request global, regional, or even company-specific editions of the full Kidney Detox Market report. You'd contact the sales team at Cognitive Market Research directly. Their info's in the source material we referenced.
Yeah, that includes access to detailed PDFs, forecasts, company profiles, the works. It's certainly a market with a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. Before we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought for you to consider. Building on everything we've discussed today, in the context of this booming market, driven by wellness trends, but facing scientific doubt and regulatory pressure, what does the phrase, keeping your kidneys supported, truly mean to you? How do you personally weigh that desire for proactive health against the critical need for solid scientific evidence and, verified safety? Something to mull on.
Indeed. A good question to ponder.
Get you on the next deep dive.
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.